Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Dangerous Rhetoric. I'm Brentley.
I'm Dan.
And today, this is episode, 120? I think about 120.
I think we always forget, and people are going to start making fun of us for that.
That's fine. It drives engagement. I am an engagement farmer.
Oh, yeah, I just saw your tweet about that.
Follow me on X. My handle is right here.
Follow me on X. It's Twitter, bro.
It's X.
I refuse. I'm not doing it. I'm not calling it a letter. I'm not doing it.
We can have this argument another time.
I'm not
Don't
doing
forget
it.
to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Share the show with your friends. We love you. Thank you for watching. Today, we have with you the independent artiste, content creator herself, my youngest sister, Kopenhaver, right here.
Hello.
Thank you for making the time and coming to chat with us.
Oh my God, always.
And we want to have Katelyn on the show because Katelyn has done a lot of work about the Epstein affair. You know, we ran around Manhattan with this banner that Katelyn crafted during the lockdowns, and we deployed it in places like the Met and Central Park in front of Epstein's old house.
If people want some more backstory about all of that stuff in our work and Katelyn's work and our history together, go back and watch our last few episodes we did with Katelyn. She's been on the show before. So
yeah, we wanted to bring Katelyn back on to talk about Epstein because it's, you know, in the news right now, and there was the new documents that were unveiled. You know, they were largely promoted as like a client list, which isn't what it was.
Yeah, well, let's also clarify too that these aren't necessarily new documents; they're redacted documents. So that's important. Is that they were out, but the names were covered up, and now the documents were released with the names revealed. But yes, it was there was a misconception going around that what was being released was a Epstein list or a client list. Yeah, right. And it's not a list. That's not what came out. No, they're court documents, which we will throw the link either here or like in the description. But if everyone wants the link to the entire collection of documents to read them yourselves, you can do name searches and all of that. We will happily provide that information.
Let me do a quick pause.
Cute over here. It's so quaint.
And we're back. Oh yes, Daniel has moved. You can see the new little cow in the background.
Oh, I'm in between places still. Everything's chaos. You don't see the floor. You're like you see the walls, but I don't even want to show you guys the floor. Yeah, it's been a whole process, but I am moving once again. I'm always moving. That's partly why we haven't been stable with this. Mostly my fault. Brent has been in one location for a while. I'm the one who's been like
fault. Yeah, it's whatever.
Okay, it happens.
It does.
So I wanted to show you guys, you know, when Jelaine was being sentenced, Katelyn and I took the banner and went down to the courthouse with it. And we got a little call. We were demonstrators outside the federal courthouse. We're a federal judge.
Definitely one of your finer moments for both of you.
And as you can see, this is really the New York Times. Hey, NewYorkTimes.com. You guys
can look it up. It's real. It's famous.
Real. You have to scroll down a little bit. It's a very big, detailed article, but it's there.
Well, with that said, and I know we did go over this stuff in previous episodes, but for those who may have not seen those, Katelyn, maybe describe a little bit what the Epstein Banner Project is, how you came up with it, where you plan on taking it.
Sure. Well, I was sitting in the living room in the apartment, and
in New York City,
and I was doing like an Instagram live for like an art space I was working with, and I was like, oh, well, like what could I do that would be interesting? And then I was also had this like Epstein, you know, phenomena in my head, and I was like, oh, well, let me do something here. And then of course, you know, COVID is happening, and so that's in the front of my brain. And then I started thinking about how Epstein and these people kind of operate like a virus, right? Like they infect, they mutate, and they're all connected, and they grow, and they're sinister, and it's gross. And the effect that they have on people is extremely damaging. So I think actually worse than an upper respiratory infection, but you know.
And you definitely got some backlash for that too.
Sure did.
What? Are you trying to downplay COVID? How dare you?
Why is it the worst kind of virus?
Yeah,
Why is it? It's just like, please.
Ridiculous.
They're both bad.
But it definitely, when you first did this, it made sense to me immediately, because you were already sort of looking at the concepts of human trafficking and sexual assault and abuse and those sorts of things in your work. And, when Brent, I think it was Brent who first introduced you to the Epstein story, that just kind of fit in with your work so well. And I would say you have now become one of the most prominent artists actually talking about this, who has work about this, because I feel like not many people are talking about it.
It was interesting. I kind of looked around and I was like, where are the artists? Like, this is like a gold mine of information and corruption and politics. And it had so much, but
and lessons
great raw material.
Yeah. Right. And yet coming off of that whole Predators and Prey, body of work that I did, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were sort of like these kind of like anchor points, but also these like landmarks of these people that actually are doing the things that I was like formally talking about in that work, which is like very personal and it's in that way. But this is something that's outside of me, but it's happening. And
also on a very high scale, in an upper echelon of our society and our culture. And it basically, you could argue out in the open, this sort of stuff is an open secret. I know we've talked about that before too, in regards to Hollywood and the entertainment industry, that it is commonly described as an open secret. They know what's going on, and the back doors and the parties and all that stuff. And a lot of them, they just don't say anything about it because they want to stay in the cool kids club. I think that's what a lot of this comes down to. So, although many are associated with Epstein, who I would say probably they didn't do anything, just knowing and not saying anything, I think there's a level of guilt there too for some of the people who know the socialites. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I kind of had this like rant on Instagram where I was talking about how, because it's always interesting to see how the media spins these things, which is also like part of my work heavily. And on one end, we can't just say, oh, well, he associated with a lot of people and just dismiss it. It's like, well, he just associated with a lot of people and, that's how it's going to be. And it's like, no. And then on the other side of the coin, we can't be like, well, everyone in the documents is guilty.
Guilty. Yeah. Well, my brother brought up Jimmy Kimmel the other day. He was like, I don't know if I believe he did it. I'm like, well, you could just be saying that because you like him. And he's like, oh, well, there's not solid evidence. And he's right. There isn't like solid evidence that he did anything. But what I would argue is, even though there's no evidence, if you are associated with the guy, some questions need to be asked,
Totally.
And like I said, it's an open secret. So you got to wonder, like, again, ask questions. How much did Jimmy Kimmel know? How much, who else did he associate with? What did he see going on around him that he didn't say anything about? I will wonder that immediately for anyone associated with him, including Trump. So
right. Totally. I think Naomi Campbell is also on the list, and Heidi Klum, which is really interesting. Naomi Campbell, there's pictures of Virginia Giuffre when she was really young, and it's like Naomi Campbell's like birthday party or something. And I'm like, Naomi Campbell had to know that, Ghislaine brought these, young girls to kind of deploy at her party.
They could, look, they could be oblivious and just airheads. I will allow the benefit of the doubt, but like I said, you got to ask the question. How could you not? And immediately the first thing you should wonder is whether or not these people knew, because more than likely, like you said, they had to have. Like, how did you not suspect anything at all,
Yeah,
like
especially with the party.
Yeah. The boys or girls, they see them. They know they're there. They see them accompanying the people there. And they probably recognize, like, oh, they look a little young, and just don't say anything. Don't
the cool thing about the new document release is that you can search it for names.
Yeah.
So I keep it open as a tab, and I was just like Naomi Campbell, and there's 2 occurrences of her name.
It was around the same time Naomi Campbell had a party.
This
Yep.
I don't know what this is. Let's
The,
see the first
the birthday
one.
party was mentioned, like you said.
Yeah, I saw that one. Why didn't it? Huh? Weird. This is the one with the birthday party. Why is it not? It's not letting me.
Scroll down a little bit more.
No, this just keeps jumping back to the first page. Technical issues. You should just be able to click it.
What if you view the original PDF document on the right-hand side? Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Like zoom out. Yeah, it says something about a birthday party in France.
So they're questioning which time in France. I believe it was around the same time that Naomi Campbell had a birthday party. Where did you have sex with the owner of the large hotel chain in France around the time of Naomi Campbell's birthday party? Answer: in his own cabana townhouse thing. It was part of a hotel, but I wouldn't call it a hotel. Jeffrey was staying there. Jelaine was staying there. Emmy was staying there. Who's Emmy? Do you guys know? No. I was staying there. This other guy was staying there. I don't know his name. I was instructed by Jelaine to go and give him an erotic massage, and that's how they describe the massage is like code for.
So apparently, she was just they just call it a massage, but that's what's
lots are
that's what, it's a massage with italics. You know what I mean?
Other things, obviously, erotic says everything, right? She used the word erotic massage. The questioner asks. Answer: no, that's my word. The word massage is what they would use. That's their code word, she says. Question: was she in the room when you gave this erotic massage to the owner of a large hotel chain? Answer: no, she was not in the room. She was in another cabana. I'm guessing that's about Naomi. So this would,
right?
Yes.
Because they were talking about Naomi Campbell.
Unless it's Jelaine. I might have misread it. It's interesting, though. People really should go and read the documents. And like Brent said, if you are interested in any particular names or people who are associated, look it up and see what the testimony says from the victims. See what they claim.
People made a big deal that like Trump was mentioned in here twice. And here are the 2 mentions. And we can go through here. This one was like...
so she's talking about a flight, like flying with him.
They're going to go to New York, and Jeffrey said, great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go. And she doesn't remember what the name of the casino was, and that was it.
Yeah, but you have to remember, people have to remember, Mar-a-Lago was not too far, right, from where Epstein's place was. Like, weren't they in the same, like, neighborhood? His Florida house. No, I'm not talking about the island. Yeah. His Florida house.
I think so.
And the one time I think Trump, or how many times was Trump on the plane? I forgot, but he said he was hitching a ride back, and that was what that was, because they lived near each other.
Right.
But who knows, man? As far as these documents show, though, there's nothing really incriminating about Trump.
No.
And I guarantee you the Democrats
one more mention,
angry as hell about that.
So pissed. They're so pissed.
So pissed. The headlines try to spin it to make it look bad anyway. Like, oh, Trump named in the documents. Yeah, you don't mention that he was named only twice and that it doesn't really say anything incriminating about him.
Yeah, there was one more mention I wanted to highlight, but now I broke the.
Well, I saw what it said. They asked him if they had serviced Trump in any way.
Right, and it was exculpating evidence. Yeah. That's why I wanted to pull it up, because she was like, "No, I never did anything with Trump."
Yeah. So it actually exonerates him.
Right.
Although that is only one victim, but this is what we got. This is the evidence.
Yeah.
As opposed to Bill and Prince Andrew.
Leah, she's a friend of the show. Shout out Leah. She read like the whole thing, like the night it was released.
And I saw she said that. I'm like, you crazy. She's a bookworm. Of course
she basically, said that it's just a bunch of like lurid details and descriptions of activities, names, places.
It's testimony. It's from deposition. It's from questioning. Yeah.
But it's good if you have like, if you want to like throw a name in there and see what comes out.
Yeah, super
very interesting.
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of funny how like Epstein, I feel like he comes back into the news cycle like what, once a quarter, twice a year, something like that. Like,
True. And we always talk with Katelyn. As soon as something comes up, we're like, all right, let's bring Katelyn back on. Some updates on the creep.
Well, it's interesting that this one of the big names that was mentioned is Glenn Dubin. And, I did the MoMA project in 2021 because no one was talking about the Dubins. Everyone was talking about Leon Black, who is equally as disgusting. But he was kind of getting the major heat. But I found that the Dubins were extra sinister because of they have over a decade relationship with Epstein, and welcomed Eva Dubin dated Jeffrey Epstein for 11 years. And they're two trustees of MoMA, Glenn and Eva Dubin as well. So that's why, these like some art news organizations are talking about it. But Epstein apparently is on the record saying that he wanted to wed Selena Dubin, who is the daughter of Glenn and Eva. And she's also speculated to be the girl that's like across his lap when he's on his plane. And her face is blurred out. But yeah, she's on the record saying that she would never ask for a better godfather to her children. It's like really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then again, what did she know? Come on, man.
Oh yeah.
11 years you dated the guy, and
she gave testimony in the defense of Ghislaine Maxwell and said she never witnessed anything untoward.
Yeah, they're in the club.
Yeah, she was lying under oath, basically.
Yeah, she's lying under this shit.
Uh-huh.
Under money. Someone's paying them off, man. And they know they're going to go down too. That's why they're all going to cover, even if they didn't do anything. If they
Ms.
knew
Anderson
about
Dubin's testimony also contradicted an accuser's account of a sexualized group massages involving Miss Maxwell and Mr. Epstein. That witness, identified in court only as Jane, said she first began being used by Maxwell and Epstein when she was 14 or 15 years old.
Sick.
Fucking whack.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, and I think Eva Dubin also participated in an abuse, like some group thing.
Miss Anderson Dubin and her family have long been entangled in the Epstein saga. Her husband and a daughter were known to socialize with Mr. Epstein at his homes, plural, and depositions in civil cases have suggested that the Dubins could have been aware of Mr. Epstein's abuse of underage girls.
How could they have not been? If you were spending that much time too in
the New York Times, people.
You saw who was coming in and out of that place, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I think you're right. You're right, Katelyn. We got to shine more light on these fucking people. There's not enough people talking about them. They're getting away with this way too comfortably.
This one was funny too. Epstein once threatened to feed rape victim to alligators. Lawsuit alleges.
Where are all the missing girls?
Maybe that's where.
It's possible. Honestly,
there's Katelyn again.
There's Katelyn.
And the banner.
I don't know. It's still weird to me too that you're associated with this sort of story too, because you're such a sweet, like lovely, kind, like loving person, but your work is about like this really the most evil shit you can think about, really.
And you may notice that on our website there's me and Daniel holding the banner in front of the Met right here.
It definitely adds this like interesting dichotomy of like when people meet me.
Yeah,
and then, like,
they're expecting you to be like, I don't know, maybe harder or like really serious, like everything is dark and death everywhere and rape, and you're like, hi, nice to meet you. Oh my god, thank you for coming. Yeah, this one's about rape. I don't mean to laugh either, but it's just the juxtaposition.
No, totally, it's great. Yeah, we need some comedic relief with
this shit. Like yes, you got to have a little levity with these topics because it really is the darkest stuff you can think about. Like,
it'll drive you cuckoo with Bananas Town. Yeah, you can't laugh.
Did you guys see the comedian who opened for the Golden Globes, Jim Gaffigan? And he was like, yeah, I'm from Indiana and I'm not a pedophile. I was like, and then there's a Ricky Gervais video going around, and he opened for the Oscars.
That was
yeah, that's old. That was great though.
Old, but
that was 2020. I want to say 2019.
It's also like
it was right before the lockdowns. I remember when Gervais did that host, and it was huge. It was controversial. It was going around at the time, and people were just like, wow, he really just said that, like on television too. Ballsy, man.
It's another aspect of the COVID thing is that it completely like hijacked the media cycle.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, Epstein's like death had just happened.
Yep. Just happened. Yep. And it totally got just
wasn't even 6 months between him being found dead in prison.
Yep.
And the start of the COVID thing.
Very true. Very true. It is interesting timing.
Yeah,
Definitely
it would be interesting actually to like make like a visual timeline of these events, or like things that are happening in the background, and then like things that dominate the media, you know, and how they use whatever's dominating the media to continue their things that they're doing in the background.
Yep.
You know? Happens all the time.
All the time. It's basically one of the functions of the media. That's the purpose of it now, at least.
Well, thanks to that little rule change in the Telecommunications Act of 1996 under Bill Clinton.
What was it? What was the rule change?
It let mega, you know, it basically allowed for the creation of media mega companies. Before, you couldn't own like multiple different media companies. So you couldn't own like multiple different radio stations, or you could only own radio stations. You couldn't own like a radio station and a magazine and like a television channel. And then they got rid of all that in 96. And they deregulated the media industry and made it so that, you know, 5 corporations could basically own 90% of the media market.
Well, that benefits them, right? Of course.
Shady.
That's why we don't have a critical media anymore.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up this story from today, actually, that came out, yesterday, of Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein. He did a recent interview, and he basically accused Bill Barr of helping to cover up the death. So he appeared on News Nation's On Balance, and he told the hosts there.
Want to play it? Can I play it? I don't know. Maybe not.
Probably better not, because we might get like copyright shit on like YouTube or whatever.
Oh, right.
But
yeah.
He basically criticized Barr for announcing right after his brother's death that it was from an apparent suicide, and he said it wasn't his position to do that. And then they also explained it away, and they said that the death was like due to a perfect storm of screw ups. That was how they described it. And, you know, he basically said like, yeah, there were screw ups. But quote, that doesn't mean that my brother was, committed suicide because of screw ups. There's a lot of reasons. There are a number of reasons why he would not commit suicide then, unquote. So that's interesting. He also told him that his brother told him that he had dirt on Trump and Hillary, and that this was during the 2016 election. But he said he didn't know what the dirt was, that his brother didn't tell him that. So could be lying, who knows? He said he wasn't involved in his brother's day-to-day life, and that he doesn't really know very much more than that. But he basically posed the question, if Barr is covering it up, which he said he thinks he is, he's asking, well, who is he covering it up for, and who is Bill Barr protecting? That's what he asked.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And wasn't it who didn't he get, or it was his father that got Epstein into the Dalton school?
Donald Barr. Bill Barr's father.
I always get them confused.
I forgot.
It's very easy. Yeah. There's so many names.
So many names.
Donald Barr was Bill Barr's dad.
Yes.
He was the guy in charge of the Dalton school that gave Jeffrey Epstein.
I forgot all about that, which makes this story even more interesting. You know, so it's like you have Epstein's brother questioning this guy now.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Anthony Blinken, his father was a business partner of Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father. And Anthony and Ghislaine would summer together in, you know, the countryside in jolly old England.
Wow, how nice.
As children.
Wow.
Mhm.
So you have these
True facts, look it up.
parallel
all these like
parallel
families with like these lines. It's kind of like, it's like really a derivative of sex lexics. It's like who's fucking who. It's like whose offspring is associated with what, where, how.
Well, because they are, you know, in the same economic class, of course, most of these people are going to know each other or associate. So, you know, like we said earlier, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty or Blinken's guilty or any of that, but it does raise a lot of questions of what did you know? You know, what did they know?
What did you know and when did you know it is the crucial question to ask. And again, like,
see anything that you're just not saying. And I think most of these people have seen a lot that I'm not saying. So whether they did anything is another question.
Blinken's what was with Ghislaine in the, it was him particularly
when they were kids.
When they were kids. Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's current Secretary of State.
Okay, yes.
Under Joe Biden.
Yes.
And Barr was the former Attorney General.
Barr was the previous Attorney General. Now it's Merrick Garland.
Interesting.
Got to keep up.
Yeah, it's a lot though. There's so many connections. It's a very complicated web, and I think that's part of the reason too. The average person, I think, just doesn't even bother.
No, it's too much.
It's daunting. You know, you look at it, you're like, how? You know, what am I going to possibly do?
And that's just what's happening today and right now. If you want to start like criticizing history,
right?
Like that's when, you know, we can get into Whitney Webb's work. You know, Whitney Webb has done the look back and the dirty deeds going back all through like tracing the Epstein operation and all of the contacts going back to the early 20th century.
Yeah. Why don't you go into some of that and the connections to the Mossad and all of that?
Well, and that's the other thing is that there's a heavy connection to the Israeli Mossad and American intelligence agencies.
Yeah. Basically, the main theory about what was going on with Epstein is not just that he was selling, we'll say, selling kids as a product. That's the way I can describe it, to a particular clientele. But it seems like he was also running a blackmail scheme of some sort. He was trying to bring as many powerful people into the network as possible, and then capture some kind of photographic or video evidence of them in an incriminating situation with a minor, to then use that over these powerful people for leverage later. Hey, vote this way, invest this way, do this, do that. And that to me seems like the most likely scenario, because it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. You also got to wonder how many of those other schemes are going on. How many other Epsteins are there?
Doesn't he just look like Darth Sidious?
He's just like this little gnome.
He's this gnome.
He's just like he's, yeah, like
an
you know,
evil little gnome.
I mean, sometimes these people, you're like, oh, you know, they're like, you know, because like you know, a psychopath or whoever isn't like, they don't necessarily look kind of ugly, right? But sometimes it's like
it's in the eyes.
It's in the eyes.
It's in the eyes. It definitely is in the eyes, for sure.
Yeah.
If you look close enough, there it's like an emptiness there, but also like just sometimes the eyes are just like.
Yeah.
So Webb goes back into the details with her Too Big to Fail series too. She's got part 1 and part 2. She goes all the way back to the Prohibition era.
Oh my God.
You know, taking it forward, tracking it, like the organization that basically became the Epstein operation and the Wexner thing began as like liquor runners and bootlickers. And then they got, you know, involved in working with the FBI, or what was the precursor to the FBI. I forget what.
Isn't that how the Kennedy dynasty got started too? Like, JFK's father was a bootlegger.
JFK's grandfather made his money.
Grandfather. Sorry, yeah.
Illegal liquor. So that's like the way back history.
Wow.
And then more recent is like this one, which kind of just like talks about this thing called the mega group. And the mega group is basically a group of wealthy billionaire philanthropists, donors that are into what they call like ethno philanthropy. What did she call it? Which is philanthropy benefiting a single ethnic or religious group. In this case, it's Jews. which is, oh, you can't talk about it. You said Jews. Oh no. I'm like, oh.
You're canceled, Brett.
I know. It's like, God forbid you can't talk about the Jews. As soon as you mention like the Jews, it's like mentioning like, the Prophet Muhammad. Like all of a sudden there's a group of people whose ears perk up and they just get, what is he going to say next about my people? Whoa, dude. Like, relax. Just because there happens to be some Jewish people here does not mean we're talking about all Jews.
Well, now that you're on this topic, to be clear, there are evil people in every ethnic group, every culture, and every race and skin color or whatever.
Evil doesn't have a race or a gender.
Jews are not exempt from
except the Chinese.
Being evil, like
they're the Borg,
just like every other group.
We understand that China's the Borg, right? Okay.
They're the Borg. Oh boy. But it is an important point to remember, though. It's like there is no one group based on like your skin or whatever that's going to determine, oh, they're more evil than the other group. There's just evil people, and you're going to find them in all the different groups.
Yeah. What's interesting is how these.
But when you do, don't use the group to excuse the evil, too.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that they always have
inclusive with your evil.
Yeah.
Oh, this was so funny is that there seems to be a very like pro-Israel bend to this group of billionaires. And Les Wexner was a co-founder.
Oh, co-founder.
So they're big on, Israel and big on,
I feel like that connection too is seriously being downplayed, and especially because of the current like escalation and conflict going over there and all that shit.
It's been rumored that Wexner runs Ohio like his own private state.
Really?
Well, he basically like owns the police force as well. I think that was like something in Maria Farmer's, in her case where she was talking about like she was trying to get help and from the police and they weren't helping her or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that she suspected that they were in his pocket, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So she goes, and then the mega group is also connected to the organized crime network that she follows up through from the Prohibition era. And she says was led by notorious American mobster Meyer Lansky.
Oh, I heard about him. Yeah, the Jewish mob was a thing too. That's another thing people don't realize. Like the Italians had their mob. Yeah, we all know the Italian mob, but a lot of people don't talk about the Jewish mob. Yeah. Was a thing, and they were just as bad as the Italian mob. They were, and then
it's pretty well established that Robert Maxwell. He was this, he's a British media mogul. He was like the Rupert Murdoch of London in the 60 to 80 period, and he basically worked for the Israeli Mossad, and like the Mossad is like the Israeli CIA, if you aren't aware.
I just looked up Meyer.
Their motto is "By deception, thou shalt wage war." So.
I didn't know that was your motto.
Apparently, Meyer Lansky was also known as the quote-unquote mob's accountant was his nickname. It says, along with Lucky Luciano, he was instrumental in the development of the National Crime Syndicate in the United States. A member of the Jewish mob, Lansky developed a gambling empire that stretched around the world. He was said to own points percentages in casinos in Vegas, Cuba, the Bahamas, and London. He also had a strong influence with the Italian-American mafia, and he played a big role in basically bringing the criminal underworld together, consolidating it.
This is also
he's probably doing the numbers for all these people.
It's
crazy.
Someone's got to do it.
With the war happening in Israel right now.
Yeah.
Ooh,
very interesting. Radar.
Phew.
Did Radar just fart?
Yes, it did.
Oh, I don't miss that.
I miss too many chicky treats.
I don't miss that. I don't miss Damien.
And so the mega group had close ties to both Robert Maxwell and Mark Rich, and many Israeli politicians, including present and past prime ministers. So in this report, he gets into his connection to Netanyahu and the Likud party.
So what you're saying is the Israeli government can have bad people in it who do bad things and are associated with bad people? I thought Jews weren't capable of that, Brent.
No, the God's chosen people, and if you say anything bad about any Jew ever, you are, the Antichrist.
Gotcha.
You're an anti-Semite.
I'll watch my mouth then.
You better. You keep the Jews at your mouth.
Oh man.
I think it's funny. I love talking about the Jews. I love talking about any group of people.
I just
I
love
think any
talking
group of
about
people should
whatever I
be talked
want.
about.
Yeah. Well,
Right,
like
because because that's when you get into trouble. Is when people start getting into groups. That's when problems start forming.
Well, because like I said, you start excusing the bad behavior because your group did it, and it's like you can't do that.
The tribalism kicks in. You start excusing the bad behavior of your friends because they're your friends and you're in the same club.
Yeah. Although Basil would disagree with us, and he would say, actually, you should be doing that, and that's why the left always wins, because they do that. So just a Basil pill, people.
Yes, but we can transcend that. We can evolve beyond that. We can.
You don't think we're just a bunch of dumb, primitive, carnal, evil bastards?
Nope. I have faith in humanity.
Oh, isn't that cute?
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know who Mark Rich was.
Me either. I've never seen that name actually.
She also gets into Mega Group co-founder Charles Bronfman. A successful Mossad plant to plant a trapdoor in the U.S. created software, which was then sold to governments and companies throughout the world.
Yes.
Mark Rich. Mark Rich was an international commodities trader, a financier, and a businessman. He founded the commodities company Glencore and was later indicted in the United States on federal charges of tax evasion, wire fraud, and racketeering, and making oil deals with Iran during the Iran hostage crisis. He fled to Switzerland at the time of the indictment and never returned to the U.S. He received a widely criticized presidential pardon from Clinton on his last day in office. His ex-wife, Denise, made large donations to the Democratic Party. So that's Mark Rich. Yeah, he died in 2013, so he is no longer with us.
That's funny.
Sounds like a great guy.
That's hilarious.
Wow. Wow.
The Democrats, they take money from some great people.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They're like, but we're so good, though.
Yeah, so that was him. And then that plot's success was largely due to the role of a close associate of then President Ronald Reagan, an American politician close to Maxwell, who later helped aid Reagan in the cover-up of the Iran-Contra scandal.
Interesting. So Ghislaine's father did that.
No. Maxwell was a business partner who aided. Yes.
But Robert Maxwell sold the software.
Gotcha.
And then this co-founder is the person who put a trapdoor in the software.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
then Ghislaine, years later, becomes involved through Jeffrey Epstein. At the same time, Epstein was bankrolling a similar software program now being marketed for critical electronic infrastructure in the U.S. and abroad. So that company has deep and troubling connections to the Israeli military intelligence and associates of the Trump administration and the Mega Group.
Interesting.
It's like a lot of these Epstein people were like infecting the Trump organization, the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Epstein appears to have ties to Israeli intelligence and has well-documented ties to influential Israeli politicians and the Mega Group.
Yeah. Well, I want to say it's interesting, like I mentioned earlier, that those connections really aren't being mentioned very much, and they're seriously being downplayed. And when I say that, I'm talking about by a lot of right-wing and conservative influencers who like to talk about Epstein. Oh, Epstein didn't kill himself, and there are pedo rings in the elite, and all the Democrats are associated with them. But they all seem to leave out the fact that Mossad was also associated with them in Israel, because a lot of them are very pro-Israel. So it's they're leaving that part of the story out. Like they're mentioning Epstein, they're talking about the trafficking rings, they're talking about the Democrats, but they're leaving out the Israeli connection because they don't want to touch that. They're scared of touching it because of what Brent said earlier. They don't want to be cast out of their cool club and on the right.
Yeah, and then it gets to be more about like the person's identity and how they identify with these topics and these parties, right? When really it's actually just about an objective truth, so if you can't look at it and see that a country that you stand by is a really big part of and corrupt, you can't swallow that pill and accept that, then you really shouldn't even be commenting on this at all, because it's it needs to be kind of all in the same.
It's definitely an important big part of the story,
Totally.
especially the Maxwells. They're the ones who are the most connected with the Israeli intelligence world, even more than Epstein himself, it seems. So she seems to
sisters too.
Yeah,
They're like
she seems to have been. She was like his line. It seems that she was his line to them. At least I would guess that, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I know Whitney also uncovered that the Maxwell's relationship with Bill Gates actually started a lot earlier than is known. But it started like in the 80s, also like around software. So
yeah, I think I remember reading about that, and she was like, they got in early when like he was splitting off with his business partner. I think she was even instrumental in some of those shenanigans. So that's all in the other article I wrote, the Too Big to Fail series.
Yeah, that Maxwell family is like really powerful.
I did videos on it a long time ago. They're probably on Rumble somewhere, maybe in the It's Brentley thing. I don't know where I put it. But another connection here is with Ronald Lauder of Estee Lauder, which was his wife.
Interesting.
Yeah, perhaps the most. Here, I'll pull this back. So she says, perhaps the best illustration of how connections between many of these players meld together can be seen in Ronald Lauder, who is a mega group member, a former member of the Reagan administration, a longtime donor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud party, as well as longtime friend of Donald Trump and Roy Cohn.
Wow.
Yeah, so overlooked yet famous client and friend of Roy Cohn is the billionaire heir to the Estee Lauder Cosmetics fortune, Ronald Lauder. Lauder is often described in the press as a leading Jewish philanthropist and is the president of the World Jewish Congress, yet many of his media profiles tend to leave out his highly political past.
Conveniently.
In a statement given by Lauder to the New York Times, reporter Maggie Haberman, 2018, cosmetics heir noted that he has known Trump for over 50 years, going back at least to the early 1970s. According to Lauder, his relationship with Trump began when Trump was a student at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, which Lauder also attended.
Bougie bitches.
This then.
So bougie.
The Lauder School.
Yes. Yes.
The exact nature of their early friendship is unclear. It is evident they shared many of the same connections, including to the man who would later count them both as clients, Roy Cohn. Much has been said of the ties between Cohn and Trump. Cohn was particularly close to Lauder's mother, Estee Lauder, born Josephine Metzer.
You guys want to search some of these names? Let's look up Cohn. Let's look up who else did we talk about? Mark Rich. Let's see if any of these people. I'm curious.
Estee was even counted among Cohn's most high-profile friends in his New York Times obituary. Got a nice little obit in the New York Times.
Wow.
Very special.
These people, I can't. They're like all these like billionaire, rich, evil, pedophile, sociopaths and shit.
Well, and it's interesting. Pathetic. It's interesting too because Estee Lauder is like a massive name, so they also hide behind these like culturally accepted and known brands, and we wouldn't think twice about it. We're like, right. Oh yeah,
Victoria's Secret, Estee Lauder.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what was the recent brand?
Vanity Fair, Condé Nast. Condé Nast is a company that owns Vanity Fair, right?
What was the recent one that did the freaking weird ad with the kids? Balenciaga, same thing. And look how fast that went away.
Oh yeah, everyone's still.
They're still selling shit. No one boycotting them. Like it's just. That just got swept under the rug. Oh, that photo shoot, that was just a weird person we brought in who did that. Right. Sure. That was just a one-off thing. I'm very sure it was.
Bizarre. Even though like there were documents on the table.
Even though like it still went through. You still approved it. You still published it. Someone approved that. Who approved that? It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You didn't see anything wrong with that ad at all. It's crazy they still have business right now, but it just goes to show how quickly the media can brush these things under the rug and make people forget. They'll give you the blip of the story because in most cases they have to tell it. If Twitter's talking about it, at some point they're going to have to say something. Right. And then that's it. You don't hear about it anymore. There's no follow-up
media. We have
we don't have real journalists. Real journalists would be following up on these stories.
Whitney Webb is like a real journalist.
Like if you were part of a real journalist organization, or say if I ran one, I would take one of my reporters and I would assign them to Balenciaga. I'll be like, you are going to investigate Balenciaga. You're going to keep track of this. You're going to keep looking at them, see what more things come up, investigate, and let's see if we can get a follow-up to what's going on. No.
I mean, and to be a real journalist is really put your life on the line.
Yes.
Literally. And so, I guess it doesn't sell quite well either.
No, it doesn't. There's a lot of risk to it, and most don't want to go through the headache. And once they get into the media field, they realize the big bucks isn't in being honest. The big bucks is, correct. You want that high paying position, you shut the fuck up and you report what we tell you to report.
Yeah.
And then
you take the advertiser dollars from our affiliated advertiser network.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how dare you tell our advertisers to GFY Elon Musk? Yeah. They're so mad about that. It's crazy. We just have like a little side. Maybe we can have like a little side about Musk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ghislaine Maxwell did try to photobomb him in a picture, and that picture had been used to tar baby his character basically by association.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence he ever was involved, with Epstein or Ghislaine whatsoever.
It's like, of
for
course,
that one picture.
Well, these rich
at a
people,
Vanity Fair party.
Yeah, they go to the same events and stuff. I'm sure a lot of them have rubbed elbows.
It was funny.
But to go back to my point earlier, because I'm not going to let Musk off the hook. Yeah, he attended those parties. He knew some of these people. What did he see? What did he know? These are questions you should still ask even of Musk. But there's no evidence the guy did anything.
Well, and the tech people too. Just in general.
The whole tech world, yeah.
Like
Silicon Valley, all of it, yeah.
Yeah, they're all.
Just look at Twitter. Look, before Musk came on, look at the fact that the FBI and these three-letter agencies had access already to Twitter, and we're using that for all these other things. Let's fuck with Trump and let's downplay COVID and let's do all this when you could have used that apparatus to, I don't know, find all the predators who are on Twitter, catch them. I'm not saying they should have abused the power for any of that stuff, but the point is they were already accessing Twitter in that way. But we're not interested in catching predators. We're interested in banning people who are talking about the vaccine
and swaying public opinion in our favor,
or questioning the election or whatever it is. It's crazy.
No, it's cuckoo bananas.
I think we talked about this a year ago, actually, now with Kyle Seraphin. That was a year ago. Crazy. That was a year ago. But I remember he mentioned this too. And he said, really, I remember he said a lot of it actually comes down to the fact that he says it doesn't even occur to them, which is probably even scarier to think about. So he said it's not even that they're like deliberately trying to cover up the predators and stuff.
Just
Twitter, it's like they're not even focused on that. They're not even thinking about it when they get access to Twitter and did the stuff they did. That wasn't even it didn't even cross their minds to do that.
Yeah. So messed up.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Dismantle the FBI. Abolish it.
Get rid of all of the federal government's agencies. Actually, I think all of them.
Be gone.
If you can be turned into three letters and you weren't in the Constitution, you can go.
Well, JFK tried to break up the CIA, right?
Yeah, he famously said,
"Scatter them to the four winds."
Yes, smash it into 1,000 pieces and scatter them to the wind. Yeah. And we saw how that ended out.
They do need to
is that what he said about when he wanted to break them up?
Something like that.
Was that like
that's the famous line, apparently.
And
we also
the exact quote.
I want to see that quote. It's interesting.
After the whole Bay of Pigs disaster and all that shit too, that was when he fired Alan Dulles, who was the head of the CIA at the time, who later became part of the Warren Commission to investigate Kennedy's death. So that's not weird or
like investigating the Fox about the robbing of the hen house after the hens have all been murdered. You're gonna put the Fox in charge?
Yes.
Okay.
Splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. I think you said it exactly like that.
Yeah.
splinter the CIA. Yeah, not smash, splinter.
Yeah,
Splinter.
and not 4 wins, just the wins.
The wind. Yep, that's it. This statement was reported by a New York Times journalist in 1966, 3 years after Kennedy's assassination. It is believed that this quote was a reflection of Kennedy's frustration with the CIA after the Bay of Pigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they were operating for the most part behind his back, and that is what they do. But
That's what they do.
He didn't realize the extent of it until that incident, and then he realized, like, wow, this entire organization is basically doing whatever the hell it wants without any
oversight
from the executive branch at all. It's like they could just do whatever
with their own black budget,
with their own secret budgets. Yep.
Yeah,
untraceable money, which is why they use drug money. That's part of the reason they use drug money, human trafficking, and money like that. This is money that's all off the books. You can't trace it, and then they funnel that money into what they call special access programs and shit like that.
Or turn it into crypto nowadays.
Yeah, that's probably what they're doing.
Like, you want to know why crypto is not like? I realized Bitcoin hit 45,000. Did you guys notice?
Crazy. I wasn't even looking, man. I've been so wrapped up in everything else.
I noticed, and I was like, it seems like it's. There was also this weird announcement that was like supposedly fake about the SEC doing like a rule change to allow Bitcoin to be traded somehow new, and the news like sent the price like skyrocketing. And then somebody came out and was like, no, it's fake. We're just kidding.
I guarantee you there are definitely people out there who introduce those rumors to then spike the price to then sell. And then when it goes back down, they buy more.
SEC said that their Twitter account was hacked. And it boggles my mind that the SEC does not have like 2-factor authentication on their on their X account. Like,
how did you get hacked?
I don't know. I read. I remember hearing in a Spaces, I think, that Twitter confirmed that they were actually hacked. So it was a hack. It wasn't, the SEC lying. Which they have been accused of. Like, there's been an accusation that they were lying about it, and then that they backtracked after the price started to skyrocket.
I know Whitney does a lot of work around crypto as well. And she's kind of tied that. That's like, it's all. I think all of her work is related, but that's like its own subset as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot.
And I mean, speaking of a lot, I mean, just going back to the article, like it goes into the Lauder-Cohn relationship, how there was a 2016 article in Politico about a 1981 dinner party that was at Cohn's weekend home in Greenwich, which was attended by Ronald Lauder's parents, Estee and Joe, as well as Trump and then wife Ivana, who were also living about 2 miles away, where they had their weekend home. And that party was held soon after Cohen helped Reagan secure the presidency and had reached the height of his political influence. At the party, Cohen offered toasts to Reagan and then Senator for New York, Alphonse D'Amato, who would later urge Ronald Lauder to run for political office. So there's like all these names, like Cohen and Alphonse D'Amato.
You want to look some of them up? Do a search in the documents. See if any of them are mentioned in testimony.
No, I broke the documents. I can't like.
You broke the documents?
No, this is searching like all documents now, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say look up Mark Rich.
I have to like go find the link again. It's not letting me.
Who else did we mention?
When I reload the page, it doesn't take me to the right page.
We should see if Lauder does show up in case like there was like a party or like something around that brand. I wonder.
Yeah, very strange. And then there's this other guy, Samuel Bronfman, and the mob connections.
Oh yeah, the mob.
It's so deep.
Is the mob still around?
Of course. I mean, it's not as powerful, but there's always going to be secret crime organizations.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is like earlier stuff. And then 2 years later, Ronald Lauder was appointed to serve as United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for European and NATO affairs.
Whose only professional experience at that point was working for his parents' cosmetic company.
Yeah.
As context. So it's like, wow, you went from that to that.
So they got to make a lot of appointments when they win an election. This was actually one of Trump's famous tactics in 2016 that was was very popular, is that he would announce his appointments in advance. And there was a writer I was reading today who was suggesting that he do that again and go through and sort of like, early announce his picks for VP or his possible picks for VP.
Wait, and why is that a good strategy?
Because it lets you solidify your messaging, and it also gets people more interested in the political process. Also, the guy was arguing that Trump needed to dominate the news cycle at least twice a month. And so by doing regular drops where you're like announcing potential picks for appointments, you give people the opportunity to scrutinize and, give feedback about selections that you have for judgeships or, Secretary of Defense or the cabinet, whatever, it's going to be.
So it's really, a PR move.
Yes.
Like a marketing move.
Yes, it's a marketing move because you want to. Trump's going to have to like dominate the news cycle basically if he wants to win, because he's going to have this nonstop spew of character assassination press coming from the machine.
Yeah, I mean, he already dominates the news cycle, it seems like.
Well, he does, but they're constantly talking about him in a negative way. He has to offer a positive counter vision to keep himself in the news cycle and with positive mention. So one way he can do that, besides regularly doing speeches in town halls and things, campaigning in general, is to make announcements about appointments and encourage people to give, feedback and scrutiny.
Interesting.
It also reminds the voting public that they're not just voting for one man; they're voting for thousands of political appointments.
Right.
It gives people the opportunity to get more involved in the process. Which is not something the Democrats do. They don't announce their appointments in advance. Major Republican candidates, they don't do that. It was never a thing. Trump did it. He made a big deal out of doing it for Scalia because Scalia died under curious circumstances. And Trump wanted to make sure the conservative base know that he was going to replace him with another conservative. It's probably good because, it's funny because at the end of the day, Trump's Supreme Court appointments might be the thing that sort of end up saving his ass.
Yeah.
Because if we had a Colorado Supreme Court situation on our, national Supreme Court, if Hillary Clinton had been, making those appointments, we'd be in deep doo-doo.
Oh, Hillary. Hill and Bill.
Shut up. She won't go away.
Hill and Bill.
She was like just in the news cycle. That's the other thing. Like Bill Clinton.
So creepy. Bill Clinton. Oh, I mean,
while there was no evidence of wrongdoing, I should say this, in the documents regarding Bill Clinton, his name did come up a number of times, and he is in the Epstein flight logs like 26 times. And he probably has done some dirty, dirty deeds.
Yeah, and he's photographed all over. There's like a photo of him. I don't know if I think it might be Virginia Giuffre, but she's like giving him a massage and he's just like smiling and then there, Ghislaine, there's two great photographs of Ghislaine and Jeffrey at the White House with Bill Clinton, like shaking his hand.
Right. So
those are really great. But I think the most iconic photograph of this whole saga is the Prince Andrew photograph. That apparently I think Jeffrey took, and it's a photograph that really it started to kind of break, show more of this. So that was interesting to me. That like photography itself had like such a weight, in this case, and still does.
Yeah, it's this one I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that really wild.
Look how happy everyone is. Engaged in sex trafficking of minors.
Oh God.
Yay.
Oh, yay. It must be nice to be royal and rich and sex trafficking. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Like,
Andrew is like especially disgusting.
they're just so fucking weird. I don't understand. Like,
So weird.
you've got all the money, all the power, all the things in the world, and what you do with your time, you abuse children.
How much do you guys think the royal family knew about this?
You know,
'Cause he might have not wanted them to know about these things too, because it would have ruined his.
I mean, I wouldn't go. I don't go telling my sexcapades to mom and dad.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know. I doubt the queen knew, and if she did, it was probably something she found out about through the grapevine.
Unless the queen is a lizard shapeshifter.
Who knows?
The queen also knighted Jimmy Savile, that notorious.
Right?
I mean, the queen knights lots of people. Yeah.
So but also, like, the pedophile problem in the UK is deep and dirty.
Yeah,
and
that's a whole other. There's this version in the UK. Remember I went down a wormhole about a island with tunnels that Epstein's island was supposed to actually be like. It took inspiration from this former island. So yeah, this has been going on since the beginning of time.
It was rumored and hypothesized that Epstein's island had underground facilities.
We'll never know. They probably filled all those and dismantled everything by now. Hit the
probably.
Evidence. Well, they're trying to I saw some article. They're like trying to rebrand it now. I wonder who owns the island now.
It's called Little St. James, I think.
Little St. James. Yep. Little St. James.
So weird.
Stop it. Friggin' pedos.
Small private island in the United States Virgin Islands, southeast of St. Thomas. It was owned by.
That's probably for sale.
Let's see. So he owned it from 1998 until he died in 2019. During his ownership, the island acquired local nicknames such as Epstein Island, the Island of Sin, and Pedophile Island. Let's see. It's an area of 70 to 78 acres. It's it has mountain peaks on it. Okay, ownership. It's a private island. It was owned before Epstein by a venture capitalist named Arch Cummin, and was for sale for $10.5 million in 98. A company called LSJ LLC purchased the island for $7.95 million, and documents showed that Epstein was the sole member of that company, of that LLC. In 2019, the island was valued at $63 million. It was Epstein's primary residence. He called it Little St. Jeff, apparently. Oh, boy.
Ew.
Oh, God. The house on the island was renovated by Edward Tuttle, a designer of the Armand Resorts. In 2008, Epstein's estate on the island had 70 staff. According to a former staffer, Epstein insisted on discretion and confidentiality from employees.
Yeah, I bet he did.
Yeah, sure. In March 2022,
sign this NDA real quick.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh
in March 2022, the island and the neighboring island, Great St. James, were listed at $125 million. A lawyer for Epstein's estate stated that the money obtained from the sale would be used to settle a number of lawsuits. Bespoke Real Estate, the agency jointly overseeing the sale, stated that further information on the listing was only available to prospective buyers. In May 2023, billionaire Stephen Deckoff, under his firm SD Investments, announced the acquisition of Great St. James and Little St. James Islands for $60 million. So it's currently owned by Stephen Deckoff. That's the current owner.
Oh, he bought it.
He bought it in May.
I looked up the current owner of the Upper East Side mansion as well, and it's a former Goldman Sachs executive, Michael Daffy. He purchased the home for $51 million. And
like, why do you want to own these things? Just dismantle them. Like, they're cursed. Like, I would view these places are cursed. I would never buy them.
Apparently, he with proceeds from the sale going to Epstein's victims compensation program, Daffy secured a $30.6 million loan from Citigroup to purchase the home. Wow, so he really wanted this home.
Yeah, I found, so he sold another home for it. I just found a story. This was March 17th, 2021, New York Post. Michael Daffy lists $3 million home after buying Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. So he bought the mansion and then sold another home.
So he bought the mansion, gave money to victims, and then he resold the mansion?
No, he sold
another house.
He sold another house. Yeah.
Yeah. So rich people have multiple houses, Katelyn.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. In case you didn't know, yes.
They usually have like at least 3. Like Bernie Sanders has 3, I think.
Wow.
Don't ask how many the Obamas have.
So he paid $51 million for the Upper East Side mansion of Epstein.
Let me Google that.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
I'll show you something real quick, real funny. There was a community notes on this post with Joe Biden's face being warped. It's like Joe Biden's face has been digitally altered.
Oh my god!
I reposted it and I was like, "Who did this?"
Apparently, they have 4 homes. The Obamas.
Important context.
Chicago. They have a student apartment in New York.
Aren't they selling the home now, where they just found the dead?
Yeah, they sold that.
Boys, that's suspicious, man.
They're moving out of Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, they have a mansion in Martha's Vineyard.
They're moving. They listed it.
Yeah,
because shortly after Safari Campbell died in the lake under questionable circumstances.
That is still such a suspicious.
I am very.
The rumor is that the chef was having an affair with one of the daughters,
or it could have been Obama himself,
or it could have been Obama. Who knows?
Seriously, I mean, now after the testimony,
who knows? These people are freaky deaky. Maybe he's doing both of them.
Who was the guy in Tucker? Larry Sinclair? Was that his name?
Larry Sinclair.
Oh yeah, who said that Obama was.
That Obama is heteroflexible, we'll say.
A lot of people are questioning his testimony, but I don't know. The more I look at it, and he hasn't changed his story. Tucker said he's been telling that same story the entire time. He's never changed it. Like, what does that guy have to gain from it? You know, like he's just being smeared. They're making fun of him. So I tend to believe him.
Yeah, and Obama was a great puppet. I mean, he did everything perfect. He was the first black president. He did a really good job of continuing the Bush agenda, the neoliberal. You know, he was going to bring in hope and change. Remember Hope and Change?
Yes.
Well, and then he was like
compared to
Bush wet dream on steroids.
Well, because Bush was kind of a doofus on the mic, you know.
Well, Bush couldn't get away with it. Bush wasn't very slick.
Obama's very charismatic and a very good speaker. Like he knows how to work the crowd. Yeah, and like you can't take that away from the guy. You know, he's very.
And they always had positive press too. Always.
Yeah, well, the media was definitely on their side most of the time.
Yeah,
that's one of the things about Trump that really started to get me to ask questions, just because I had never seen basically all of the media, for the most part, I guess besides like Fox, so unified against the president in that way. I'd never seen it before.
That's why I'm supporting him now.
Oh, you're a Trumper, you evil.
I'm making my official endorsement is for Donald Trump for 2024.
Fascist.
Yes.
Fascist.
Make America fascist again. Because when we were fascist the first time, it was amazing. You remember the first Trump years? They were great until.
Shame on you, Brent. You hate your own kind, Brent. You hate your own kind.
They had to cause a friggin' pandemic in order to get Trump out of office. That's how good it was.
He's gonna take your rights away, Brent.
Like what? My right to like murder babies?
Can't say that, Brent. It's the woman's choice, Brent.
It's a woman's choice whether or not she murders her baby in the womb.
Yes, because it's her body. The baby doesn't have a body yet,
except for
stealing from her, like a parasite.
It is interesting, the whole like my body, my choice argument, and how that
doesn't apply to
itself with the vaccine.
It also doesn't apply to the baby's body in regards to the argument of abortion.
It doesn't.
No,
only the woman's body is considered, not the baby's body.
Right.
So
yes,
just something to consider.
Right.
Yes. Very strange.
Brett,
And also,
you're
that
a fascist.
ruling, just
You're canceled.
randomly aside, that ruling was a terrible ruling. You know, a clear violation of the 10th Amendment, and it was constitutionally appropriate that it got thrown out and got kicked back to the states.
You mean Roe v. Wade?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think there was some shenanigans involved in that because we never found who leaked the early.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, and that really played into the lack of a 2022 wave
and the midterms. It definitely
it very much helped the establishment get that get that push,
rally their base up, get them to the polls. Like, they're threatening your rights, rally them up and get them to the polls. So it's probably it's definitely part of the reason Republicans didn't do as well in the midterms. I agree with that.
Oh, there's a kitty at the back gate.
What are you looking at?
I got my notification. There was motion at the back gate, and it was a kitty.
There's security cameras over there. Mm-hmm. Oh man, let's see. We're an hour and 11 in. I'll say we'll go like an hour and a half, but I wanted to get back to Katelyn and what Katelyn is up to and what Katelyn's doing with her artwork. What projects are you working on? You've been really making waves in the Miami scene. I see you've been busy.
Aww.
I'm always following your Instagram and looking at the stuff that you're up to. And I love every time you're in an exhibit or doing something or flying back to New York and doing something there. I'm like, go Katelyn. Love to see it. So what projects are you working on right now?
Let's see. I am always doing too many things. I
understand. Yeah.
Well, I'm taking a writing workshop right now, so I'm actually like kind of getting back into more like poetry and writing, and because I pull a lot of phrases like from my poetry, so it's like a really good way for me to get like something really strong and condensed, and then pull from it.
When you first shared some poems with me a few years ago, it made total sense to me because so much of your work deals with text.
Right.
So for you to start delving into writing, you even put a little book together. You can talk about that too. But it made total sense, that transition. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Of course she's gonna start writing some poems.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot, and I mean, because a lot of my work can range from videos, performance, and photography and printmaking, but it all has this like core of text. So just kind of like going even more into that. But
and that was inspired partly by Barbara Kruger's work.
Oh, totally. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Very text-based too.
Yeah, really love Kruger, always will. And I remember when we went to the MoMA and she had the exhibit in the atrium. So cool. I was like, Daniel, hold my phone.
Yeah, I love that, the giant installations like that. I think they're so interesting. And, like you mentioned, you do all these things. And, when we describe you, we can't just say, oh, Katelyn's a photographer. Like, a multimedia artist is what we would describe you as. You do a lot of situational art too. So if people want to see some of that stuff, go on Katelyn's website, and she's done a lot of really interesting things in the world where you place yourself in a certain situation and then observe and record how people respond.
Right. I like posing people with a choice.
Maybe talk about the mattress project, and because that does tie into the Epstein banner and the Epstein too, because you did bring the mattress to the mansion, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which Brett helped with.
Yes. Yeah. In 2019, I started doing this project where I was writing on street mattresses, and I was writing "She was last seen" on them. And I was doing a lot of research around, missing persons at the time, and reading so many cases and noticing the repetitive language. And I'm really interested in patterns. So I was like, this is interesting. Like this keeps coming up over and over again. And then there was this like bizarre mattress on 9th and 57th Street, right next to a construction site. It wasn't like getting thrown out, but it wasn't there for people to sleep on. It was just like, this is so weird. And I remember I was with Kevin, we were walking and we were going to like get like a glass of wine somewhere, and I was like, if I still want to write on this mattress after this glass of wine, like we're gonna go do it. Because I thought about it and I was like, all right, let me think. And then of course I was like, yeah, I gotta fucking do that. So we went back upstairs, got paint, and then I did it, and then I would actually go back and kind of just stand around, and people would be like walking, and then they'd be like, what is that? I'm like, what is that? What does it say? And what do you think it says? And I'd start to talk with people about it. Like I had no idea what it was.
You tried to play dumb, like you were.
Yeah, exactly. Because I wanted to see like what people actually thought, and how they were responding, and then that kind of became like a thing where I was just like, okay, I really want to just go around and start attacking these mattresses. And then I saw myself, I was thinking of watching myself do the act, and I was like, interesting, what I'm doing actually parallels with how victims of abuse are treated, right? They're attacked, and then they a memento is taken, or like these like psychopaths, they usually take something from a victim.
So in your case, it's the photograph. You take a photograph. So you attack the message, you put it in the situation, or you go to the situation, attack it, put the words on it, take the photograph, and then you leave it there to
discard it. Yeah.
Discard it.
And then in 2020, I revisited that project because I started thinking about titles. I was like, oh, she was last seen running in Central Park. She was last seen leaving Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. And I was like, well, let me get a mattress, not a street mattress, like someone's mattress that they're actually, disposing of, because they don't want it anymore. And start placing it in site-specific locations. And it's very laborious.
Yeah.
But
so Brent had to rent a truck, from what I recall, and help you guys put it on the truck, and you drove it to Epstein's
Epstein
mansion.
Was the mansion was the first place that we went, actually.
But it's interesting because it kind of is a bit like an offshoot of the Banner Project. It started before the Banner Project. Then you did the Banner Project. Then it kind of fused together, because the first picture you took in front of that mansion was the banner. Right. But then later you went back and you put the mattress in front of there too. What were people's reactions when you were doing that?
Well, no one was really around when we were at Epstein's place. But then when I brought it to Central Park, there was also few people around, but they were just kind of like, what is she doing?
Like, just New York City. It's just another crazy thing.
It's fine. It was so funny how we did that, and then I also discarded it, when I was done with it. But it's interesting, and I think this is something you pointed out, whenever the mattresses were written on, they're always flipped over.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
People don't want to see it.
They don't want to see it.
And like, that's so like, how conceptually charged is that, right? Is like, because people don't want to see these topics. They don't want to acknowledge them. They just keep kind of flipping them over.
Yeah.
And then I started, I kind of went back more specifically into the Epstein and Ghislaine case. And I did these text pieces called The Convenience of Denial. And it was all people who conveniently denied the relationship with Epstein and Maxwell, despite obvious proof that they had a relationship. Yeah. And I actually like omitted all the names, and I just kept like the act itself. So it was like denies relationship despite 26 flight logs, or so if people like really followed the case, they would know like what I'm talking about. But it's just interesting how it's like, it's so convenient for these people to now like deny all these things. And now we live in a very like denial, lying culture where everyone's like just deny, or it's just a blatant lie. No one really cares if it's a lie. And we just move on to like the next thing. It's just like kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's part of why one of the major roles of the artist, I always believed, is to bear witness. That's right. Part of our role is to bear witness, to record the zeitgeist, to hold a mirror up to our zeitgeist, our society, and say, this is what you are right now. And this is the stuff that you're not seeing, or this is the stuff that you're ignoring, or that is unacknowledged, and you're a part of it too. And I think that's what makes your work so powerful. I think it's why people do, like, if they see a mattress, like, they flip it over because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They don't want to contend with that stuff because it's a harsh, dark reality. Who wants to believe that the leaders who are in charge of a substantial amount of your life, who are your lawmakers,
Yeah.
are potentially involved with pedophile rings?
Right. Yeah.
So
no one wants to. Yeah.
It's not a fun thing to
That's
think
just a
about.
right-wing talking point, Daniel.
Yeah, it's just a right-wing talking point.
You're like a MAGA conspiracy
Well,
theorist.
on that note of bearing witness and stuff, I'm assuming you plan to continue making work about Epstein and this.
Yeah,
story.
so it's a tricky thing as an artist, right? And I think
You don't want to get pigeonholed, yeah.
right. And I think actors go through the same thing of like they don't want to just like do a similar role or be known for a certain thing.
Yeah, you don't want to be known as like, oh, Katelyn, she's the one I was talking about Epstein. Like,
yeah. I mean, however, I like Epstein will sort of always predation as a concept will always like hover over the work. And I think whenever I'm doing any work about the media or like even poems I'm writing, it's all sort of like it's predation is there, so now I'm taking it as like a little bit more as a concept, and I'm not, I don't have to talk about like specific things like missing persons or abduction or sex trafficking. It's like I sort of feel like I really kind of went there with that. And I don't want to just be making work it's also really taxing to make work like that. And I have the abduction video. I had like that work was really hard to make. And I'm also interested in other things, right? But I think it still always will kind of tie in. So I did this text piece called "To Have an Original Thought," and there's a line. It's all about like, is it possible to have an original thought anymore? Like, who controls our thoughts? And then I have like a line that was like hashtag Jeffrey Epstein still didn't kill himself. Like, where do I go from here? Da, 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 da. It's kind of like this like chaotic, erratic piece. But so and I did the "Will You Buy Me" performance at Art Basel and Untitled.
That was so interesting. I remember when you first ran that concept by me, I was like, absolutely, you should do that. That is really cool and weird, and I've never heard of it done before.
So weird. And that
explain it to people. What was that exactly? What was the concept?
So that was a project where I put a QR code on my back, a massive one, and it was a fake tattoo, but it was a real code. And the idea was I wanted to debut it at these art fairs, because it was also kind of a commentary on the art fairs and the art world as well. But I wanted to become a commodity while commenting on commodification. And coming from the work that I was making previous to that, it's so related in a way, because now I'm selling aspects of myself, and I was like, when I was building the project, it was like creeping me out. I was like, oh, I'm selling my smile. This is so weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
So I wore all white, and I like moved like kind of like very like robotically, and I kind of hung out with like the podiums and the white walls and different art, and I would like juxtapose myself with like other pieces of art that I thought were kind of would even add more meaning to what I was doing, whatever. And it was interesting because I would just also like get up and move. So I would like lay down on the ground and then just get up and move. I was like, see ya. And I had like a bunch of people around. They'd be like, where's she going? So I like that about, having like doing performance art like that, because you can move around, versus being like, a stagnant object on a wall.
Were a lot of people photographing the code?
Yeah, I got so many scans on the code because you can track it. So if you scanned me, it brought you to this project called "Will You Buy Me," which you can actually, it's on my website, so anyone can see it. And I have aspects of my tangible and intangible self for sale. So Katelyn's smile is for sale, which is an object that you would get in the mail. Katelyn's debt is for sale, which is every $200 towards my student debt, I would do an active community service. And then Katelyn's advice is for sale. So it would be an anonymous recorded like 15 to 20 minute phone conversation that I was thinking about later. It would be interesting to elongate that into like a sound piece where you could just sort of like listen to like all of these, you know, thoughts and people's stories or whatever. But the whole project is essentially a commentary on cultural narcissism of like, buy me, look at me, listen to me, you know? So I was also I wrote like a statement for it that was like really like angry. It was like really kind of just like, and then but I still actually pull from that statement every once in a while, but I like rewrote it in a way that was a little bit
less abrasive.
Took the emotion out of it. Yeah. But I talk about how like the construction of you know the self is built by, or the fragmentation of the self is promoted by these people, you know, in mass media who encourage people to be a victim and encourage polarization and encourage actually a true acknowledgement and of oneself, of who one is. You know, they don't want people to figure, like, they don't want people to do, you know, the work of who they are, or to be focused, or to even be empowered truly.
Know thyself.
Yes.
They don't want you to.
No, they don't. They don't want that. They want you kind of in this like
fractured and confused
fog,
and in a fog.
Yeah, kind of state of existence. But it's interesting with the code because everyone sort of already knew what the QR codes were and how to use them. So the culture is already, they already know how it works. So to take that and to put it on skin, it's like kind of makes people like, they're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
You know? Like,
well, then they have to think too, like, should I take a picture of this person, you know, or am I allowed to? Does she want me to? She put the code there, but also I'm kind of uncomfortable. I don't know her. Like,
well, and then I did a different thing where I put a smaller code here. Okay. And men were really freaked out by that.
Yes.
Because now, instead of being like a passive observer with like on my back, people are just standing and walking,
you
kind of
see their reaction.
They're treating me like the disposable object, like as I am, right?
But having to look you in the face.
Yes. Yeah. And they're all like, is this okay? What does this mean? And it's also sort of like here, you know.
Like, I'm not looking at your titties, I swear. Just
yeah.
You know.
Well, it's like all these men, they've always been told like my eyes are up here, right? And now I'm like being like, actually, I want you to look right here.
Yep. Yeah. They're like, is this a trick?
Yeah.
Like, is she gonna photograph me and then accuse me of something?
I'm like, no, it's a project. Just scan me.
It's an art trick.
It's an art trick. But really, that actually happened because there was a mistake made by the code that was put on my back, and I was like, fuck. So I had a smaller one switched to here, and and then I was like, well, this is kind of a different thing now. So I turned that frown upside down.
Put one on your forehead next time.
I know they look very weird on the skin. I put them on my hands, even though they deteriorate and they don't actually work because there's too many bumps. But yeah, the QR code as a thing is sort of interesting. And then I started doing different t-shirts. This is like kind of like a whole other thing, but I also incorporated the QR code into a series of fuck your algorithm shirts, which were fun to make. And then I have like a kind of like a QR code that's like falling apart on the back, but there's actually one that does work. So you could scan it and it would bring you to the clothing, and you could like read about the, fuck your algorithm phrase and what it means and blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm kind of in this phase right now where I'm like collecting a lot of like data, and I'm pulling things, and I'm trying.
That's been me for the last like 3 years. Not totally by choice either, but
yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. I have like all these paintings in me still developed, and I definitely have a few books in me, like another poetry.
Oh my god, you totally have books in you.
Like another poetry collection. I want to write a collection of essays about America over the last 10 years and my observations, some of my personal experiences, like Occupy Wall Street, January 6th, just reflecting on that, New York during the lockdowns, reflecting on that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to write a biography of a founding father from New Jersey. So
yeah, I remember you telling me.
So I have like all these ideas and all this creativity built up, but I just haven't been settled enough to really focus on anything. But I know once I am, like, it's gonna start pouring out of me. So
Yeah,
I'm excited
definitely.
for that.
Yeah.
But I do think artists have to go through those like data collection phases, because you're gathering new material. Like when we think of art, we typically just think of like the materials themselves that you're making something with. But none of that means anything if you don't have any of the internal material of
the creative spark.
Yes, but like experiences, like thoughts, things, feelings, the stuff that happens in you. That's the real material. The external material.
Cultivate your creativity.
Yeah. Yes. But I love to see you constantly grinding. I'm always very proud of you. I brag about you to friends and stuff. And
Katelyn, where can everyone find you?
You can find me. I am more active on Instagram probably than Twitter, but my Instagram is just my name. Fortunately, there's not too many people that have Kopenhaver in their name. So, and my website is also KatelynKopenhaver.com. So you can find me. My Instagram is just at Katelyn Kopenhaver, and my email is Katelyn.Kopenhaver@gmail.com. Love chatting, love meeting new people. Whoever is out there.
Whoever's out there, yes. And go buy some art. Very important.
Yes.
That's the number one way you can support an artist.
Support your artists.
Buy their work. Be a patron.
Totally.
Yes.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And we'll be back again soon. Love you, fam. Stay safe. Stay safe.
Later, everyone. See ya.